Anybody that wants to go, go.
I've got the 11 o'clock meeting with KCPM, or Old Habits Die Hard.
Mine's at 1.
Yeah.
Will it look weird if I go, if I'm the only one?
I'm
gonna go too.
No, but I mean, if I'm the only one besides you.
No,
You can.
anybody.
Okay.
Problem.
Yeah, mine's at 1.
Should be an interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to hear what they have to say.
Oh, yes. I was like, didn't know if we were talking about the.
No.
Yeah, I went to, go ahead, sorry.
I think the sound sound technician could have done a better job. A lot of instruments, they were very loud, but the voices were getting drowned out by all the instruments.
That might have been on purpose, because
Well,
it's pretty damn old.
now, I will say there were a couple songs, the voices were a little weak.
Yeah.
Sugar-free, my wife's favorite.
It smells wonderful.
That's a double mug, isn't it?
I like matcha tea.
Mhm.
Is that,
Matcha tea.
oh, Tony the
It's
Titan?
green tea that's been covered and shaded,
Yeah, I'm
high caffeine, high L-theanine.
not a fan, but, all right, it is, 10:15 plus 3 minutes, and we have all the, we technically have all the commissioners, right? So we will begin the weekly agenda meeting. Today is June 1st, 2023. We'll remind everybody on the phone to please mute your phone unless you need to speak. We have 5 tariffs and new orders today, 2 case discussions, 1 other discussion, and we do have an announcement to make for those that are not aware. This morning, the governor did make an appointment to fill the vacancy for the vacant seat here at the commission. Mrs. Kale Hahn is going to be coming over. She'll be sworn in today at 11 o'clock, and she will be joining and giving us a full commission. And we look forward to having her and having a full commission and bringing a new team member on board.
Congratulations,
Yes,
Dr. Hahn.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
So, you know, I was wondering, Mr. Chairman, did the governor make a historic appointment? Is this the first time 2 females have served on the commission at the same time?
No.
No?
Let's check with our resident historian, Mr. Bush.
I know, I think back in the 70s, we had a few, and then I know in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had Commissioners Murray and Commissioners Lumpy.
I thought we had 2 women together at some time, at some point, but I didn't want to think too hard about it.
Yeah.
I figured somebody here would know.
Yeah, during Kim and I, we had Commissioners Lumpy, Chairman Lumpy and Commissioner Murray, and that.
Yeah,
back in
there's,
the
I
70s.
enjoy looking at Chairman Lumpy's picture every,
Yeah, we also had Drainer,
Agenda.
Commissioner Drainer probably laughed with, yeah, she was through at least 2000, I think, so, yeah. Yeah, because it was a 2000 rate case where we had fun, so.
We've had 2 women chairmen in the last 800 years. So thank you, Mr. Resident Historian.
You're welcome.
Well, it's an almost historic appointment.
It's all.
Yeah, great.
Well, thank you for that. For sure, it's always nice to have a
You
little
know,
background history.
I'm a history minor, and history is important to me.
History is important.
Always
Should be.
interested.
To everybody.
Our theme to repeat it, right?
That's so
It
true.
may not be exactly history rhymes. All right, so we will dive right in, but before we do any official tariffs new orders, we got to approve the minutes from the May 24th, 2023 agenda. I do know those have been distributed in advance. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments or changes need to be made to those minutes? Hearing none, I would make the motion we approve the minutes for the May 24th, 2023 agenda, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great, those minutes are now approved. So, we have 5 tariffs and new orders. The first one is in file number GA 2023-0110. This is in the matter of the application of Empire District Gas Company, DBA Liberty, for a certificate of convenience and necessity in and around Platte County, Missouri, as an expansion of its existing certified areas. So back on September 21st, Liberty filed an application seeking its CCN to provide gas service in Platte County, Missouri, as an expansion of its certified area. which the commission had granted. On February 24th, Spire, Missouri filed an application for rehearing. Spire, Missouri was not a party to that case, and Spire states that it is already serving customers in that area of which Liberty received its CCN. Then on May 10th, Liberty, Spire, and staff filed a stipulation and agreement. The request of the commission amend its order granting the CCN as reflected by the stipulation, which further states the commission should deny Spire, Missouri's application for rehearing as untimely. So this order finds that the stipulation is reasonable and approves it, so that the parties may expeditiously serve customers as provided in the stipulation, and the commission finds it is reasonable to make this order effective in fewer than 30 days. And I would recommend we approve this order, version number 2. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Excellent. Commissioner Holmes.
I'm in support of the order.
And Commissioner Copeland.
And I do as well.
All right. See what you started everyone just hopping on board. Excellent. That is okay. All those in favor of approving that order version number 2, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved by a vote of 4-0. Next up, file number AX-2023-0287, in the matter of the proposed amendment to commission rule regarding discontinuance of service. On May 3rd, the commission issued its order denying petition for rulemaking on the same date. Charles Harder had filed an application for rehearing. In the judgment of the commission, the application does not demonstrate sufficient reasons to rehear that matter. So therefore, this order will deny that application. And I would recommend we approve this order, version number 1. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holsman.
I'm in support of the order.
And Commissioner Coltmeyer.
I'm also in support.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, version number 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that is approved by a vote of 4-0. Next up, file number ET 2023-0249. This is in the matter of the tariff filing of the Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri. On January 13th, Ameren, Missouri filed tariff sheets designed to revise their rates for cogeneration and net metering as required by commission rules. On the 23rd of May, staff filed this recommendation stating the commission should approve these tariff sheets and those to become effective on June 12th. Staff then continued to recommend that the future cogeneration tariff rate filings, Ameren, Missouri provides calculations and supporting documentation to justify the Ameren, Missouri position associated with the avoided capacity credit treatment within the proposed cogeneration tariff rate. And then no response was received due to staff's recommendation that was filed. So this order approves Ameren, Missouri's tariff sheets and directs us to file the information as defined by staff in its recommendation in Ameren, Missouri's next cogeneration tariff filing. I recommend that we approve this order, version number 1. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holsman.
I support the order.
And Commissioner Coltmeyer.
And I do as well.
And great. All those in favor of supporting that order, version number 1, please say aye.
Aye.
That is approved by a vote of 4-0. Next up, file number ET 2023-0251, in the matter of the tariff filing of Evergy Metro. And on January 17th, Evergy Missouri Metro filed a tariff sheet designed to revise its rates for cogeneration and net metering as required by commission rules. This order approves that tariff sheet that was submitted by Evergy Missouri Metro, and it will become effective on June 12th, as it's been recommended by staff. Additionally, the commission will direct Evergy Missouri Metro to file a public version of the data as required by commission rule. And I recommend we approve this order, version number 2. Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holsman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Coltmeyer.
And I'm in support of the order.
Great. All those in favor of supporting that order, version number 2, please say aye.
Aye.
That is approved by a vote of 4-0. Next up is file number ET 2023-0252. This is in the matter of the tariff filing of Evergy Missouri West. And on January 17th, they had filed a tariff sheet designed to revise its rates for cogeneration and net metering as required by commission rules. This order approves that tariff sheet submitted by Evergy Missouri West, effective June 12th, as was recommended by staff. Also, the staff had, the commission will direct Evergy to file a public version of the data as required by commission rule. And I recommend we approve this order, version number 3. And Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Holsman.
I support the order.
Commissioner Coltmeyer.
And I do as well.
Great, and that is, all those in favor of supporting that order, version number 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is approved by a vote of 4-0. And next up, looks like we have 2 case discussions. Let's go, we're gonna take, the Ameren case discussion. So this is in file number ER 2022-0337. This is in the matter of the Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri's tariffs to adjust its revenues for electric service. Judge Clark, great to see you.
Good to see you, Chairman.
Start us off. What would you like us to decide today?
Thank you. There are a number of issues here to decide. There was a pre-hearing memo that was put out. This is a post-hearing memo, after the hearing and the on-the-record presentation in regard to a stipulation and agreement, submitted by the parties. This, memorandum covers all the disputed issues between the parties that, were not addressed in the stipulation and agreement. So these are the issues the commission has to decide. It's a little different from the pre-hearing memorandum in that, in looking at the issues, I've reordered them a bit, and I've broken some sub-issues out into, their own issues, as they were not as well related as I wish they'd been. So, I don't know what additional background you would like, but these are just lay out the issues. I will say that, I have put what I believe are the obvious choices, for the commission to make, but the commission is, as always, free to craft their own solution to any issue.
Great. Thank you, Judge, and thank you for a well-written memo. Thank you for breaking out those other issues into sub-issues. It does make it easier to kind of, keep your mind focused on what we're trying to do, make sure we're hitting all the I's and dotting the T's, and I think the way you presented it, was very helpful in coming up with the decisions. So, I think, should we just go through around and go through case by case and just kind of run around each question? Can we all, chime in? Does that sound like all right, that's kind of, since it's a long one, we'll do that, because I would hate to, kind of everybody's thoughts to get lost in a long, diatribe. So looking at the first issue, that the judge kind of had brought before us, class cost of service, revenue allocation, rate design, and rate switching, trackers. So the first issue, the question before us, sorry, I got to scroll, long memo. Looks like it's question 1.1. Which parties' class cost of service study should be used in this case? In my opinion, there are pros and cons to both the class cost of service study methodologies. I think all parties made very strong positions in the case and in their filings. And I know that historically we have relied on the average and access method that staff did raise legitimate concerns with how Ameren performed that study. But then on the other hand, staff did freely admit it did not have all the data it had requested from Ameren to incorporate into a new class cost of service study. So in my opinion, weighing all the evidence presented, it would be my recommendation the commission not rely on any of the parties' class cost of service studies, instead just order an equal percentage increase across the board, because I think there was some legitimate questions raised on those class cost of service studies, and I would like to see a lot more work put into that. So that was kind of where I came down on 1.1. Commissioner Coleman?
I'm right there with you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Holman?
Well, I'd like to make a comment from a macro perspective on this discussion before I kind of get more granular. In the last rate case that we had dealing with time of use, I was the lone no vote on the issue for, my stated reasons. I think I try to remain consistent and treat utilities the same, but I think there are several differences in this rate case than what we saw in the first one, and I believe I can get to a yes, because I've always said that I do support time of use as a general principle and a concept for rate design and the ratepayers of Missouri. I think some of the differences here, it's already been mandated. We have a larger percentage of the ratepayers who already have experience with the design. We addressed net metering which wasn't addressed in the last one. There are a couple things around that I'd like to talk about when we get to that section that will definitely help me get more comfortable to a yes vote on this. But I think just in general, this rate case and this time of use is a little bit more evolved and developed than where we were in the last one. It won't be such a shock for the ratepayers when they have the differential changes. And I would also say that one of the things that we did for the last rate case was to provide a little longer runway, get out of the summer months before it would be implemented. And I think we're looking to do that here as well. So for those reasons, I'm trying to get myself to a yes vote on this to support the time of use concept. I just want to say that from a macro perspective before we get into these details. But for 1-1, I'm in your position that none of the cost of service is appropriate.
Great. And I appreciate the overview. I know that a lot of parties have been wanting to understand kind of how we get to our decisions and our thought processes, and I know it's really appreciated that you, the more we can lay out our thought process and stuff, I think it helps them understand where we're coming from.
And Commissioner, I appreciate, that macro overview, because I had already decided in my head that you're gonna stay consistent and you're gonna not be there on this one.
Well, and I had wanted to be there on the time of use issue in the last rate case. I just felt that, without the net metering solution, without, the differentiation being so great and it being kind of a cold splash, that's how I couldn't get there. But I think that like for what I mentioned, I think this is a little bit different.
Good, thank you. Good to hear that.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer?
I agree with your position.
All right, Judge, that takes care of issue 1-1. The next one, how should the production cost be allocated amongst customer classes within the cost service? I think that's moot. And 1-3 looks like it's moot as well. And how should any rate increases be allocated to several customer classes? I think we all agreed it should be equally among the customer classes. I would make the exception to lighting, though. I think we should provide a rate modernization data to staff in the next Ameren's rate case, so staff has the ability to perform a more accurate class cost of service study, which they said was due to the company not sharing the level of data that is requested. So I think, is there any, do we need to go around on that one? Because I guess there is a question on the lighting, so.
No, I'm fine there.
I support your position.
Okay.
I do too.
All right, there you go, Judge. All right, so that takes us into the time of use rates. Probably a little bit more discussion on that one. So, question 1-5, should the customer charges associated with the residential, what should those charges be? My position would be I would agree with staff, public counsel, and the Consumers Council, and the Metro congregations, and the NAACP, and Renew Missouri, that the commission should retain the $9 customer charge for all residential rate plans. Commissioner Coleman?
I agree.
Support. Bozeman?
Yes.
All right. Next up is question number 1-6, customer charges to ultimate savers. Smart Saver plans are discounted to other residential rate plans. Should a minimum demand charge be imposed with customers to be fully educated on the minimum demand charge?
This would be moot.
It would be moot, yeah. So that will be moot. All right, now changes to the rate plans. What changes should be made, if any, to the residential rate plans offered by Ameren? All right, so I guess I'm gonna follow Commissioner Holden's lead and give kind of a macro overview. When I looked at this, I defaulted back to my mission statement as a commissioner, which I have hanging on my door, which I took off my door to bring it down here because I hadn't memorized it in a while. But basically, my mission statement as a commissioner was we must drive value for the consumer. We must focus on value, not least cost. We need to allow the utility to make money, but require performance. And give the consumers what they want: convenience, control, and choice. So fitting that into, you know, kind of how I view regulatory things, I believe that the commission should change the default time of use plan, from the evening morning savers to the smart savers time of use plan, and that should be the default plan. I think that plan, the smart savers plan, is the most similar to the time of use plan that we made in the default, time of use rate, in the Evergy case. So I think that does bring as close to parity as we can from a statewide perspective on those types of rates. I think the Smart Savers rate sends a consistent message across the state that the price of energy does vary at different times throughout the day, and it sends a very clear price signal to customers of that difference. I think that the recommended, by the company, the Evening Morning Savers plan had virtually no price signal differential, and therefore there's no price signal to the customers in that. This change in the default rate should only affect the customers on a going forward basis, because technically, 2/3 of Ameren's customers have already chosen their rate plan post their AMI installation. So there's really only 1/3 that still have not gotten their AMI meters and do that. So I think those that have already made their choices should be honored. But I do believe that we should allow the company to ensure it has time to modify its customer education materials, and allow customers time to adjust their energy usage patterns before next summer. So I think the new default rate should go into effect no later than the spring of 2024. There's also the 6-month lag between the installation of the AMI meter and the potential migration to TOU rates is a very critical time for Ameren to engage with customers and educate them about their rate options and the potential bill impacts, and therefore that should be preserved. A couple other comments I did have. I believe the Smart Savers plan, it will substantially had a higher expected peak load reduction as compared to the default rate, which the EM Savers plan, which was recommended as the default rate, basically had no peak load reduction. And so if the whole reason behind using time of use rates is to give consumers choice, opportunity to save money, and at the same time to reduce peak load, that's kind of how I got to the Smart Savers as the default rate. The company did state that they believe that 10% of their customers could see an increase of up to 10%, which is concerning. But they also reported that 80% of its customers in one of their advanced time of use rates are experiencing bill savings, of approximately 4 to 8% per month. So that's 80% of the people on those advanced are having significant savings. But I do believe that extra steps should be taken to educate the space heating customers, because they would have the potential of having a larger impact. And so I believe the company should take serious note of outreach and education to those that are our space heating customers, and really focus on making sure they are aware, informed, and educated on that, because they would see the potential for the largest swings. Potential bill customer impacts, they are important to consider, and I did kind of consider those. But at the same time, we can't let revenue erosion for the company be a leading factor in making our decision and stuff, but I do recognize there could be some revenue erosion. As more people are using less energy and they are saving money, there would be an impact to the customer. But again, we are trying to eliminate some of that peak load and to give consumers more choice and convenience and control over their utility bills. Wanting to make things as homogeneous as we can on time of use rates, across the state, while taking into consideration individual companies, different tariffs, different rate structures, different geographic things. I wanted to make them as close as we possibly could. And when I was looking at the information by the company on their, advanced time of use rates and saw that 0.3 of their customers had elected to take time of use rates as an opt-in. And then going back to the Evergy case, where they had 1.1% of their customers taking in, as an opt-in strategy. And we found in that case that 1.1% was a way too low of a participation rate. So if 1.1% was way too low for, you know, one large utility on one side of the state, then a 0.3% participation rate is extremely low. And again, that kind of got me to where I was on that. So that was kind of my thoughts on that, kind of laying out where I would like to see. Commissioner Coleman, love to hear your thoughts.
So, Mr. Chairman, I like your comments on the educational component, especially because, you know, I'm old school, grew up learning or being told, you know, to first conserve energy, run your dishwasher late at night. Heck, for many years, I wouldn't even use my dishwasher because I could wash dishes and really conserve some energy. Because I'm serious about my utility bills and what I put out, what I could keep if I know how to conserve energy at the certain time of the day or the evening. So I'm one of those people who run my dishwasher at night, who probably wash once a week on the off-peak hours and everything. And when I get my information in the mail from the utility companies and I review it very carefully, because not only do I want to make sure that I understand it, but I want to make sure that what the utility companies send me is consistent with what the decisions that we've made here, and that they're following through and doing what they need to do. I like the anytime plan for those customers with the meter, so I would say not to eliminate that. So that's where I am on this.
Ms. Olson?
This is where there's a couple of points here that I want to see happen. First, you know, the fact that net metering is going to be able to participate was a huge step in the right direction for me. But I want to clarify that those folks who are currently net metering that already have made a choice, if they want to stay on that choice, they can. But they also have the option to opt in to the new default. But anybody who comes on the line, you know, once this tariff is approved or this rate is approved going forward, they would then maybe understand that they're going to be on the default. So the grandfather folks can stay, they can opt in the default, but then the new net metered customers coming on would be in the default. I don't see a way to allow them to go, you know, to go retroactive into the reverse, and that's fine. I think that's fair. The other aspect of this is in the Evergy rate case. Evergy allowed for changes to be made on a frequent basis, and they would take effect in the next day. And my understanding is that Ameren will allow for you to go into the default anytime, but if you wanted to make an election outside of that, you can only do it one time a year. So if you elect to be into a rate and you don't like that rate, you can go back into the default, but you can't choose another rate until a year's gone by. And I actually prefer and like the flexibility, you know, to your mission statement of control and choice. I would prefer the ratepayer to be able to have, and I'm not saying it has to be as progressive as Evergy's, they can do it as often as they want, but I think 1 year in between choices is probably a little bit restrictive, and I would like to see us come up with something that's a little bit more friendly or favorable to the ratepayer and giving them more control and choice. So those would be two of the issues that I would have. And then finally, one of the things that I'm comfortable with is having that education period, that runway, be a little bit longer so we get past the summer months. And I think that spring of '24 is what you've proposed, and so I support that as well. So if those changes can be adopted, and again, you know, whatever you think and we think as a group would be more applicable than once a year. I'm not saying it has to be every day, but more frequent than once a year.
Great. Commissioner Kokemeyer, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll circle back and see if we want to chime in on any of the comments.
I don't like to see people forced into something. There's kind of where I am. But it's concerning when you give the numbers that you're giving of the people that aren't in this, that aren't, you know, if they had to choose. So, I'm not sure just which direction that I'm here. I'm conflicted. I don't like the 1 year. I think the 6 month should be, I don't think they should jump monthly. But I think once a year is too restrictive. But, I'm really conflicted on forcing people into it and making them opt out. I'd rather see them opt in, but I also understand the low, participation rate.
So I'll come back and.
So then the next thing is the whole thing even worth it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because of that kind of participation rate.
So, from a philosophical public policy standpoint, and this is how I got to where I was a big proponent of mandatory time of use, is I have looked back on significant, public policy changes. When you have an opt-in, you do have a much lower participation rate. And I came back, used to own a couple companies that had dealt with securities and things, in the savings for retirement, when people were given the option to have a 401k, people didn't have one. But when the companies went ahead and mandated that, we're opening you an account, and we're gonna put our money into it, and then whatever you do after that is up to you and stuff, the savings rate of people just went through the roof. And they appreciated it, they loved it and stuff. Now, granted, some of them that didn't want it and stuff, they'd still take the free money from the company and things like that. But it's sometimes when there's a public policy thing, is to get participation rate, to get to a desired outcome, which here is shaving peak load, giving people the opportunity to save money, is you have to put them into that, but then give them the freedom of which to exit or say, no, this isn't for me, or I want to choose something else. Because it was like the people spent like 10 times as amount of time planning their vacation than they did their retirement and stuff like that. And people spend, I think I've seen studies where the people say they spend like 14 minutes, thinking about their utility bill, and that's like basically the time it took to write the check every single month when they got the bill, and that's all they thought about it. And so I understand, the philosophical, should we force people into it, but the public policy reasons of getting that participation up is kind of how I got to the mandatory, the default sign, so to address that. To address Commissioner Holzman's points, I think it's great on the net metering. I think that's awesome. I agree with you there. Thank you for bringing up the 1 year on the Ameren, from switching, how that differs from that. I would be in favor of making it like we have it on for Evergy, and allowing the back and forth to keep that homogeneous. But I'm open. I think 1 year is too much, but my default would be like, let's make it similar. But I think that's a discussion for there.
And I would be okay with that as well. To Glenn's hesitation on that, maybe we could come up with once a quarter, 4 times a year or something that. Because I also understand the company's perspective, and Evergy has chosen to allow that flexibility and to deal with the logistics that's going to cause them. I understand the perspective of saying, if everybody changed every other day, it will be a nightmare for our accounting and for, us to make this happen. So I'm okay with, and also how could you know if that's working for you if you haven't given it a trial period? So every day is probably maybe a little excessive, but, if you went 3 months on something and you wanted, because you can always go to the default. Mm-hmm. You can always go to the default, but maybe 3 months might be enough of a time to give you and the company a chance to evaluate, what the results were for you. And then maybe you can opt out to another one every quarter, once a quarter would be a compromise maybe with Glenn's position of, be more restrictive.
I'm happy to make a compromise on this. I actually think that often is too much, because I think about the people that I talk to, especially the elderly. Like when I go to one of the senior centers to take a neighbor or somebody, and folks always talking about their electric bills. And someone has brought up at one of those, events that, you know, I don't like what I'm getting charged, and I don't know how to go on the computer and do this and do that. I like the idea of them being able to switch, but I just don't think you get that, that history that you need to make those decisions. But I'm good either way we go on this. I'm fine with what I said previously, but that's just my actual heartfelt thoughts on it. We have to be analytical about this stuff.
I think 6 months is reasonable.
So I'm trying to remember back to the hearing. I thought that one of the concerns they were raising was that the people would game the system. They would, oh, I'm gonna maximize my savings on, you know, during the summer rates, and then I'm gonna switch over here. I thought that was like the driving kind of what the company was basically saying of, you know, that would cause a bigger revenue loss, for us. But I also think that that's a really small percentage of the population that's gonna be monitoring their utility rates on a monthly basis. Yeah, you'll have, you know, a certain percentage of the population, so,
Yeah, who's got time for that?
yeah.
When you talk about people with more time.
0.3%, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
we're not seeing it now,
Yeah.
folks, you know.
yeah.
I mean, I definitely want it to be lower than a year. I would prefer it to be lower than 6 months. But I wouldn't mind getting a little more information maybe from.
Can we punt
Yeah.
this to, you know,
Punt this to next week and allow us
Kick
to.
the can down the road.
No,
As
absolutely.
Bill Kenny would say.
We're taking a little drop of the soda out of the can, and we're setting it aside.
I would prefer quarterly, so 4 times a year would be my suggestion. If Gwen's twice a year and, you know, you're okay with Evergy's position, then we've got the gambit
Mhm.
to really, you know, try to get between. I wouldn't necessarily, you know, die on the hill for less than twice a year, but I do think that's awful restrictive, because if someone makes a mistake and they realize they've made a mistake, they don't wanna go default, that's a long time that you're gonna have to, you know, pay that bill before you can
Yeah.
make a choice.
If you have a life change, you know.
Yeah.
You
that's
get
a good
married, you.
point.
An elderly moves
someone
in
comes
with you, you know,
Yeah, it does. So,
you work from home, there's all sorts of reasons
That's a
why.
good point.
you wanna, Judge, can we punt this to next week on that one specific question and allow us to, just kind of go back and review some of the notes and kind of come up to a consensus?
Of course, thank you.
All right. All right, so going into question 17, let's see, did we cover that? Should staff proposal eliminate the end-of-time flat rate option for any residential customers who have an AMI meter approved? No, I think customers should continue to have this rate plan as an option.
Agreed.
Agreed? Anyone? Question 18. What changes, if any, should be made to the deployment of residential TOU rates? I think we kind of covered that, all
Well, I
the
think
changes that
we
we
just-
discussed.
Yeah.
And question 19, should staff's proposal introduce time-based overlay for all non-residential and lighting customers, for all customers who have an AMI meter are not reserved on a time of use schedule be adopted? I think the parties agreed to have a non-residential rate design docket in Ameren's last rate case. But I think that docket hasn't happened because how quickly Ameren came in and filed their rate case. So I believe that docket needs to happen before the commission can impose any, time-based overlay for non-residential customers. So I would like to encourage the company to come in and do that docket before they file any, a next rate case. Strongly encourage.
I strongly agree.
Agreed.
All right.
Agree.
Question 110, should the commission approve NECG's proposed optional EV charging rate design? I believe it should not be adopted at this time, but I think it can be one of the things discussed in that non-residential rate design docket.
Agree.
Support.
Agree.
All right. Question 2.5, should the cost causation and rates of riders B and C be fully evaluated? Yeah, I think that should be in the docket, that they should discuss that in the docket when they come in. It should be something that should be evaluated. And then 2.6, should the rider C factor be adjusted? I say not at this time until we've had the docket and it's all been fully evaluated.
Yeah.
Christian, looks like we have agreement on that. 2.7, should the values for the monthly customer charge rider B credits and reactive charge remain consistent for SPS and LPS customers, because these costs are effectively the same regardless of the customer class? Again, I think that should be evaluated in the docket and not at this time.
Agree.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of touched on this, but on question 2.8, it's a really long question about the performance of study and the issues that kind of came up with the class cost of service study. So I believe that Ameren met the minimum requirements of the commission's order. But I think they need to sit down with staff and they need to develop a more comprehensive parameters, so that the rider B assumptions can be more thoroughly studied before the next rate case. So, yeah, I think you kind of did the letter of the law, but I think there's a lot more information that we can glean from that and would help staff moving forward.
Agree.
Should Ameren, Missouri be ordered to provide a study of its, this is question 2.9, provide a study of its customer-specific infrastructure by account, by rate, schedule, by voltage in its next general rate case? I know this was a big issue in the case of staff wanting to have as much detailed, granular data as they can, and the company saying it was difficult to provide that. I think the more data that the commission and the staff has at its disposal to develop more accurate cost of service values only helps us get a better product. And I would like to see the company provide more granular data that is requested by staff, so that we can, kind of really get into, rate design and things that really have solid data behind it.
You could also address, some of the voltage issues that I've had in the past.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I think Ameren should be ordered to provide data concerning the level of rate base. And so this would be question 2.1. Yeah, I think the company should be ordered to provide data concerning the level of rate base and expense associated with radio transmission facilities, including substations, components by customer. Yeah, I think they should be providing that as well.
Agree.
Same for question 3.5. Should the Ameren be ordered to record transmission assets related to maintenance of voltage support due to retirement of large synchronous generators, be recorded to new sub-accounts? Yeah. Question 3.6, yes. On reactive demand. 3.7, yes. I think it's kind of a defaulting to more granular data we can get would be better. Create the sub-accounts in question 3.7, I was a yes.
And I apologize, Chairman, somehow my numbering got off there.
Yeah, well, no one noticed but you, so it's, we were all thinking the same timeline there. I think we touched on this on question 3.8. The commission will order Ameren to work with staff to provide the requested data to the best of Ameren's ability at reasonable expense. Reasonable expense should not be an excuse, but we are cognizant that sometimes producing a whole bunch of data can lead to cost, but do not hide behind reasonable expense as an excuse to not provide the data unless you're willing to show the support for why this is a extraneous expense. Amazon required to study potential rate structures and make, I was a no on 3.9. I don't think they need to do that. They just provide the data and the information to staff. They don't, the company doesn't have to, do all the different rate structures and make all the available determinants now.
I could go either way.
Go either way?
I'm a no.
No.
Either way.
And section 4 into the rate switching tracker. All right, should the commission authorize Ameren Missouri to track some of the evaluation of estimated revenue changes that may arise from its residential customer rate switching? We did not approve this in the Evergy case, and I don't believe it's appropriate to do that in this case.
Agree.
Commissioner Wilson?
Stay consistent.
All right. And, the second, 4.2 is moot if we didn't order the tracker. So should alternative approaches available to address what Ameren Missouri characterizes as an inherently disincentive for the utility to pursue a rapid transition towards broad adoption of TOU rates? This is question 4.3. I'm open to addressing, this alleged disincentive, with rapid transition. And I'm open to the information in those arguments, but I don't think we need to make any finding that one approach that exists in this case. But I'm not shutting the door on those arguments to be made in the future.
I'm a no.
No? All right.
Same.
Same? So, yeah, no?
No.
All right. 1. Should Ameren be ordered to change the manner that property retirements are recorded in its CPR? In my opinion, it should be yes. The answer is yes. I did not think it did not appear to me, let's say this. It didn't appear to me that Ameren's method of recording was consistent with USOA. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think yes.
I'm a yes here.
I could be yes, too.
Yes.
And moving on to section 6.1. Should Ameren be required to identify avoided capital investments should the Sioux or Labadee energy assessors retire early than currently planned, as recommended by Sierra Club's witness Cummings? I was a yes on this one.
I'm a yes, too.
Mm-hmm.
I can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just for just to give reasonings behind that, I know that helps, is the IRP dockets are not contested proceedings, and there's no, formal approval of the company's decision-making in an IRP, so I think it's reasonable to address these concerns in a rate case. And that's kind of how I got there.
I agree with you.
Question 6.2. Should Ameren be required to file CCM prior to installing any new air controls in response to EPA regulations? I was a no. I think the Commission CCN rule specifies when a utility has to seek a new CCN when improving or retrofitting or rebuilding its assets. So I was a no on 6.2.
I agree, no.
Fine.
All right. And 7, we're getting into the Ameren Net Meeting Study Report. Should the Commission order, it looks like I'm not going to make the swearing in. Should the Commission order Ameren to provide a study about offering TOU rates to customers with distributed generation? I was a yes on this one.
I'd like to remain consistent.
Yeah.
Evergy.
Yes.
Yes, consistent.
I can't scroll any farther. Does that mean we've hit the end?
That does. I appreciate the commission, making decisions on these. I know that some of these were amorphous, issues, so.
No, I appreciate Judge. I thought you did a great job kind of laying it out.
Yeah, very good memo. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So you have everything you need except for the one that we're gonna get back to you on the,
Next week.
on the,
That is
issue
on the rate
on
switching.
the rate switching,
Time
how many
period
times.
for lockout.
Yeah.
And I will, I'll try and draft something and get that circulated.
Also, let me just throw it out there, that it doesn't necessarily have to be a time restriction. It can be a number of change restriction too. You can say you have 4 changes in a year period, and if you burn through them in, 1 month, then you're stuck. But, if you give them, 4 tokens, they can use them throughout the year. So it doesn't have to necessarily be quarterly or
That's good
6 months or anything.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get back to you on that piece, Judge. All right, thank you guys for a very good case discussion. I think that is helpful to the judge and to all the interested parties to understand how we kind of came up. So looks like next up, we have, another case discussion. This is in file number EA 2023-0017. This is in the matter of Grainbelt Express LLC for its amendment to its certificate of convenience and necessity. We have the hearing starting Monday, June 5th, running through June 9th, starting at 9 a.m. Judge, anything?
That's basically what I'm here to tell you about. I could forward the, positions of the parties, and we have a lot of parties in this case. I am expecting some members of the local press to be here early in the hearing, so that you may see, some television cameras or other things that we don't usually have.
What time on Monday?
9 a.m., right,
9
Judge?
a.m.
That's what I put in the memo.
Think we can move it to 9:30, just for those of us who are driving in from Kansas City to make sure. I mean, I can make 9, but.
I say she usually does the, orders of appearance and everything. That
Yeah.
usually takes a good
Takes a-
solid,
yeah.
Okay.
solid,
Yeah,
so maybe
I'm
just.
sure opening statements won't get started
Started
until
until
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
The only other thing, you did put this in your memo, Judge, and I appreciate that, is we've kind of moved this case around a little bit, because of all the other stuff we had going on at the commission. And so the parties are looking for a decision no later than August 7th and stuff, so just kind of throwing that out there.
And I don't think there should be a problem
Mhm.
with meeting that.
Yeah. Thank you, Judge. Thank you for the pre-hearing memo. It was very helpful. All right, that concludes the case discussion. The only other discussion we have is a sunshine request. Request for documents related to the proposed acquisition of the Olympian Village wastewater system by Liberty Utilities, Missouri Water LLC.
And, again, I circulated a memo about that, and I did hear back from Liberty, yesterday, and they did not have any objection to releasing the information that they had provided. And so there are several responsive emails, and I recommend that you release, the ones that are not privileged or work product or otherwise protected.
Do you need a vote on that?
Do need a vote on that.
I'm fine with following the judge's recommendation.
So moved?
Yeah, great. All those in favor of, the judge's recommendation on the sunshine request, please say aye.
Aye.
That is approved 4-0. All right, that concludes everything except scheduling. Looks like, immediately following today's agenda, we have our USB meeting and stuff, so that will, take place right after we adjourn. Then on, Monday, June 5th, as the judge just, outlined, we have our hearing in the Grainbelt application for amendment to certificate of convenience necessity in case EA 2023-0017. That'll be in room 310, here at the Commission's headquarters, Jefferson City, Missouri, starting at 9 a.m. Wednesday, June 7th, we have our agenda at 10:15 a.m. On Monday, June 12th, we have a local public hearing in the Confluence Rivers case, WR 2023-0006. And that is at 6 p.m. in Camdenton, Missouri, at the Camdenton Fire Station. 6 p.m., Camdenton Fire Station, on the June 12th. June 14th, we have agenda at 10:15 a.m. Then we have another local public hearing in the Confluence Rivers case I just mentioned. That is a WebEx only meeting. That is at 6 p.m. online, WebEx only. Thursday, June 15th, we have another local public hearing in the same Confluence Rivers case. That one is in Sedalia, Missouri, at Sedalia City Hall, starting at noon. Sedalia City Hall on the 15th. Friday the 16th, we have another local public hearing in the same Confluence Rivers case, another WebEx only. That starts at noon on WebEx only. And on Wednesday, June 21st, continuing to Thursday, June 22nd, we have an evidentiary hearing in case ER 2023-0210. That is Evergy, Missouri West application for authority to implement rate adjustments required by commission rule. And that will be at Commission's headquarters, room 310 at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, the 21st, continuing into the 22nd. Friday, June 23rd, another local public hearing in the Confluence Rivers case I previously mentioned. That one will be at Farmington, Missouri, at the Farmington Municipal Courthouse, and that will start at noon on Friday, June 23rd in Farmington, Missouri. Monday, June 26th, another local public hearing in that same Confluence Rivers case, and that is another WebEx only meeting, and that is at 6 p.m. On Monday, June 26th. And then on June 27th, Tuesday, we have an evidentiary hearing in WC 2023-0106, Charles Harder complainant versus American Water Company. That will be at Commission's headquarters, room 310, and that is scheduled to start at 1:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 27th. And then Wednesday, the 28th, we have our agenda at 10:15 a.m. Any other business coming before the commission? Any commissioners? Well, it's been nice serving with you four. We're going to be 5 next week. So we look forward to adding our new commissioner who...
What's Glenn gonna do when you can't say, and as do I?
Yeah, that's right.
I have thought of that.
He can say me too.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you guys for the time. I know this went long, but I do really appreciate the healthy case discussion. And seeing no more business before the commission, I move we stand adjourned. Great thing. And US Beat meeting following.
Immediately. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.